Hey, everybody, welcome back to day 3 of the Grow Live event. I'm so glad to be back. You made it. We're at day 3, and if you have made it every day live, reach around, give yourself a pat on the back. If you're watching us on the replay, I'm glad you are making the commitment to still show up and take yourself seriously. I just want to say I am so impressed. My team, we've been saying this about this event in particular, and we've done these events. We've done many of these, particularly, I think this is our 4th year-end event. And we were saying, like, we are noticing there is a noticeable shift in the energy with this audience, like with this group of people, than we have ever noticed before. And here's why I think that is. It is because all of our language has been around people who truly desire growth, who are like, yes, I'm in. Yes, I want to do the hard things. Yes, I'm going places. Like, I'm noticing that we have attracted a group of people who want to be action takers, not people who just want to sit around and wish and hope and think, or caught up in the past, or people being victims to their business. Like, sometimes I've noticed it's easy to just kind of want to pick people up and be like, come on, come on. And the energy of that can be pretty exhausting, being like, okay, everybody, we know we want this, right? But the energy of this event, I just want to applaud every single one of you. I'm so impressed. Yesterday, we had 3.5 thousand people watching live. I'm so impressed by all of you. That comes from you prioritizing it, making the time, telling your team, hey, get there, because live, I'm going to say it, live is the vibe, friends. There's something about showing up. You can feel the energy. We make decisions differently. So I'm really glad you're here. Thank you for making this a priority. We're going to bring it home today. I know it has been jam-packed in the last 2 days of a lot of value, a lot of content. And thank you for all of your input and your comments. Actually, just so you know, I go back after each training and I read every single comment just to see, like, what's landing, what's meaningful to them, what's helpful to them. And I usually am making adjustments to my slides like the night before, the morning of, based on what I'm reading from you. And so it's an incredibly interactive event. And I just want to thank you for just your positive input, where you're just like, this is the best training I've ever been to. Well, I always aim to give you far more than what you pay. Can you believe you only paid $9 for this? This should feel like $1,000 masterclass. You're like, how is this only $9? This is the standard at which myself and my company, this is how we operate. We believe in giving you far more than what you pay for. And I want to say that I wish I could spend, 6 hours every day going through every little thing you need in your business. But again, this is a $9 event. And so the goal is to really help set you up, create the conversation, create awareness so that you can actually go out and make changes. So how we're going to bring this home today is I'm not going to pack on a ton of too much strategy, because you have a lot. And I don't want to put so much on your brain where you leave this event and you're completely frozen. I still want you to be able to take action. So just real quick, with your workbook in the back of it, you're going to do this growth gauge where you're going to evaluate on a scale of 1 to 10, like how committed you are to your growth. I really want to encourage you to take a minute, sit down, do that at some point today. And at the end of the training, you're going to be sitting down and filling out the implementation or the goal setting, and you're going to be very clear and specific. Because remember, I'm forgetting my own statistics, but it's less than 3% of people actually have written goals. But those people are 10 times more likely to succeed with their goals and actually accomplish them. And remember, we have a 92% fail rate with goals. And I don't want to see that happen with this group. I don't want to see 92% of you choose to go back to your old patterns, choose to go back to how you were doing things. Because here's the thing, there's actually nothing magical about January 1st. Nothing. 2024 is going to look exactly like this year unless you do something different. So I want to just bring to your attention, if you are identifying as a goal getter or an action taker, I've been asking you every single day, take action, do the things, Show up. Don't just implement, take the action. If you see yourself as an action taker where you want to guarantee your growth, I have a special offer at the end of the training and a special announcement. So hang with me. It's gonna be a fun day. All right. So today is all about building grit. And grit is all about becoming the person who inevitably hits the goal that you set out. Because we can set goals. We've talked about the mistakes of setting the goal and needing to be consistent, and how consistent implementation is what compounds into results. But we have to figure out, okay, so where does grit come from? How do we become somebody who bounces back after defeat, after somebody says something that kind of has you spiraling and questioning your life? Or how do you come back from disappointment, from feeling heartbroken? Because you're going to experience disappointment and heartbreak in this business at some point. Maybe you already have. Maybe you have experienced, going for a big goal and putting your heart and your soul behind it and not hitting the goal in the time that you set out. And it created such a devastating heartbreak for you, like such disappointment, where you may not know it, but you made a subconscious agreement with yourself that you're never going to feel that way again. So that's when you started playing small. That's when you stopped aiming for big things. You stopped pursuing the big things. You started having stories of like, maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe I'm not cut out. Maybe I don't have the right personality. Maybe I should go on to something else, right? So we're going to talk about building grit. But before, grit is all about being the person who makes it happen. How many of you are like, I'm ready to make it happen? Not just wish for it, not just hope it happens, but like really go all in and make it happen. But before we get to grit, I want to cover the secret platform that you're not leveraging. Yesterday was so jam-packed, I didn't have time to cover it, but I really want to talk about it because I see so many network marketers that are not leveraging this particular resource, and it's costing them thousands of dollars in potential revenue. It's a platform you're not using to grow your audience, to grow and sell to your audience and explode your sales. And I'd be curious what you think that is. Actually, I just spoiled it. I went my slides too fast, but you're familiar with social media, online parties, maybe in-person events, text campaigns, going live, all those things. The secret platform, my friends, is actually email marketing. And some of you might be like, I have email. I contact my customers on email. I tell them about my specials, my news. Maybe I share some recipes or things like that. But what you have is actually a newsletter. And newsletters don't make revenue the way email marketing does. So many network marketers, social sellers, don't know how to use email marketing in a way that truly leverages adding revenue to their business. And oftentimes, and I'm going to show you how I see it typically used, because most of the times your email list is filled with people who are already buying products from you. They're already your customers. They've already been to a party. They've already bought a product from you at some point. Now, does that mean it's worthless? Absolutely not. But that means they're already in your sphere. They're already a warm market. You've already made some money on them. That's not to mean that there's no money left to be made, but if you keep selling to them, like you're still tapping a market that has already bought from you. It's customers, right? So typically how I see it, someone becomes a customer and then they join the email list for newsletters, and then they're just reminded of specials and sales. If someone's using their email list, sometimes they're like, oh yeah, I'll do my email list. But listen, I'm gonna show how this works. So this is what I see. I see someone becomes a customer, they purchase a product, and then they're put on the email list, okay? And then on the email list, they're notified when there's sales and specials. Hey, 20% off. Hey, 40% off. Hey, here's what's going on. Hey, here's those things, right? I'm going to show you a different way of looking at email marketing, and it will change the game for you, because we have not really taught this strategy to this industry. And it's why I have it. I have a whole module and training section on this inside my Social Selling Academy so that people can understand how to do email marketing. Now, text marketing, if you are a subscriber of mine, I send out texts, I send out emails, you get, literally I'm everywhere. It's multi-platform so that I'm reaching people in all different avenues of communication, okay? So this is how I want you to see it, okay? So, and I'm gonna actually tell you a common mistake people make is people assume, well, I hate reading emails, so why would anybody else read emails? But did you know that 40 to 50% of some companies' total revenue comes from email communication, just across the board standard. Like, people read emails. I know it might be shocking to you, but people actually read emails, especially if they're valuable. People don't like newsletters, but they like emails. They like emails that are valuable, that are fun, that are entertaining, that's offering them value, right? So here's how the different way I want you to look at it. So you have your audience. You have like maybe your Facebook friends. You have your let's say you have 1,000 followers on Instagram, right? You ready? Follow me, because I know I don't want to see everybody in the comments going like, I have so many questions. Just hang with me, okay? So we're all gonna calm down. This is how you get people onto your email list who are not yet your customers. Okay, so there's a free gift. Give them a reason to opt in. Remember, we talked yesterday about pull-based marketing or permission-based marketing, consent to sell, meaning like give them a good reason to be on your email list, not like buy something and then get a newsletter. Who's excited about that? But like, hey, here's my top 10 crock pot meals of the winter season. Hey, here's my 10 ways to better sleep at night. Here's 10 ways you can be feeling better in perimenopause, or whatever it is. Here's 10 ways to do 10K steps a day. Like, give them something that they want, and make sure it's something that your target market is looking for. Remember, solve a problem. Okay, so they get that, and that now they're on your list. They have become a lead. What they have done is they've just qualified themselves by saying, I'm actually looking to solve a problem that you currently provide a solution for. I'm in your target market, which means I'm likely the products that you sell, I'm probably going to like that too. Now, I don't want you all freaking out being like, but if I'm in makeup, does that mean my opt-in needs to be about makeup? No, it's about earning trust, earning relationship, right? And so now you have an email list that, guess what? Look at this formula. We've done attracting, and with the email list, you can nurture. You can share, hey, you got on this list because of this. Here's more tips. Here's those things, right? And so now you're nurturing with helpful content. You're building like, know, trust through emails. What? Right? And so then from there, then you're sharing, you're sprinkling in your sales. Here's what's going on. Let me share with you my story. Let me tell you how this works for me. Like, you can actually do this, right? And then they become your customers. So you actually build 2 email lists. And if you're like, what? Email platforms do this. You can like segment your audiences where it's like, okay, and once they become a customer, they get all of my tagged emails that are specifically for customers. But anybody that's a lead that has not yet become a customer, I can serve them this way. I know some of you are like, I teach this in detail inside the Social Selling Academy. I teach like, okay, here's how to do the freebie. Here's the email sequence you need to send and in what order from when they join that. Here's how to nurture that. Here's how to sell to them. And I also say like, here's how not to sell to your customers. Here's how to sell to your customers. Most people do this wrong. So not knowing how to properly market, nurture, and sell to an email list is costing you thousands of dollars in revenue potential. Thousands. Right? And so many people come back to buying a product because of how you nurture an email list. And no one is talking about this in social selling. That's why I'm like, hello, why is nobody talking about this? This is why I built a whole module for it inside the Social Selling Academy. I'm like, if we're not teaching people email marketing, it's a massive disservice. Every other online business knows the value of email marketing, except for this industry. Like we use it as like, email your customers, but what about emailing people to get people in and nurture and then selling to them? Why an email list? If I haven't sold you yet on an email list, let me just explain to you why. Because it is, excuse my typos on this, it is the most important asset for an online business. If for any reason, heaven forbid, something were to happen to your company, you still have your email list of people you've been nurturing, people that like, know, and trust. Your email list is also a way to diversify your earnings. If you are like, hey, that crockpot cookbook, you could turn that into an ebook and sell it for $20. Like, diversified income with email marketing as well. But you do not own your followers. If social media shuts down and that is your only way of communicating with a cold market and talking to people, your business could shut down too. Back in 2021, there was a day when Instagram and Facebook completely shut down. How many of you remember this? When like it went dark And this, like, I was laughing because I was like, oh, all the social sellers out there are peeing their pants right now because they've just lost all of their potential leads, because everyone they talk to, like, guys, I've heard about the Facebook accounts getting completely shut down. This actually happened to a friend of mine. She had years of networking that she had been doing. Her Facebook account got hacked. She got locked out, stole her financial details, whatever. Facebook couldn't give her account back. Years. But guess what? She still had an email list of 5,000 people that she could still serve. This protects you. This is your asset, my friends. Okay? So this is all about using email for attracting, nurturing, and selling. Okay? So if you're like, where do I start? It can be so simple, but I want you to just start at looking at your current email list, like with your current customers. Before you start attracting new people in, work on serving your existing people better. Work on not just sending sales emails. Send an email of like asking how they are, asking, here's 3 ways to improve how you use your products. Here's 3 ways to get faster results. Here's 3 ways you can jump back in. An example of this is if you're like, oh, people, it's so funny. I've coached so many business owners, even outside network marketing, where they don't send emails because they assume nobody wants to read them. I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's just experiment. And so we did this experiment, and I said, okay, this is the email campaigns you're going to send. We're going to nurture, and then we're going to sell at the end. And she made $30,000 from 5 emails. And she was like, this is blowing my mind. I'm like, because people read emails. Just because you don't doesn't mean other people don't. Like for me, you getting on YouTube, I'm like, YouTube. I'm not a huge YouTube person, but my husband is. My husband YouTubes everything. Does that mean because I don't use it, it's not useful, right? So I want to just encourage you, start by serving your existing customer base first. And text campaigns are great for small snippets, right? But I just want you to be thinking about this differently. Some of you are like, sheesh. But listen, I got to wake you up so that you know that you're leaving money on the table. It's painful for me to see network marketers and social sellers leaving money on the table because they don't know. Well, you don't know what you don't know. Now you know. All right. So from this, I know you're excited. I know you're ready to implement. You're totally ready to tackle 2024. How many of you are like, oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm like, I'm gonna get, like, you're making all of these promises in your head. We're like, okay, I'm gonna start an email list. I'm gonna build a freebie. I'm gonna get on Instagram. I'm gonna go from a public profile to a private profile. I'm gonna do constant content creation. Like you watched yesterday and you're like, okay, I'm ready to do it, right? You're ready to set goals. You're ready to talk about the industry as an investment vehicle. You're ready to embrace social selling and being a content creator. Some of you are like, all right, I'm ready to make this decision. I'm ready to do things differently. But here's how I see this. Over the last couple days, I feel like you have been sitting down at a Thanksgiving feast of content and you were stuffed full. And I don't know about you, but anytime like after Thanksgiving, there are moments where I'm like, I've eaten, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so full. And I literally think in that moment, there's no way I will ever feel hunger again. I'm stuffed. And we think like, I could go days without food. We literally think that. And then the next morning I wake up with hunger. I'm like, how am I hungry? I had so much food yesterday. It's the same thing with this content. When you expect this 3-day event to sustain you all year long, but we have that expectation. It's like, okay, we have that, but it's easy to think I'm never going to feel hungry again. We think it's going to satiate us all year long. I have bad news. It's not going to. Why? Because you're going to leave the energy of this event. I want you to see this as like a vacuum, and you've been in a vacuum of high energy, of being around people that are goal setters and go-getters. I'm here smacking you around, being like, don't do that, do this. You've had your butt handed to you a couple times. You're hearing hard truths. But what's going to happen after this event when I'm not in your ear, or you're not around the content, you're not in that community, and you go back to real life, and all the reality sets in, because this feeling is going to inevitably pass and reality will set in. And your old patterns will come back swinging. This is where grit comes in, friends. How do we stay gritty when our old patterns die hard? Because unless something changes, you guys know this, unless something changes in you, nothing's going to change in your outcomes. So it's like, okay, so how? And I saw some comments and people saying like, okay, but how do I break this cycle? How do I get out of the good intention cycle and into the implementation cycle? How do I step into being somebody who shows up when I don't feel like it? How do I get out of my own head? How do I get out of my own way? And we're going to talk about this because I think you've had some maybe some misconceptions about what mindset actually looks like. And because it's been misleading you, it hasn't been serving you. So habits don't change. By the way, everything in your business right now, your results, your paycheck, your outcomes, is a result of your habits, period. And some of you just have, and if you have a great paycheck, it's because you have a lot of good work habits. If you have a low paycheck, you have not built the good work habits to create a good paycheck. You following? So we have to actually work really hard to create new habits. How many of you have like tried forming new habits and I realize that a lot of people are like, it takes 90 days to form a new habit. And we could sit there and say that we intellectually know this, but when it actually gets to being gritty and changing how we interact with our business, how we interact in our daily life, it's much easier said than done, isn't it? Right? Here's the thing about habits. Habits are always an outward expression or an outpouring of our thoughts and our beliefs. Your habits are an expression, is an outpouring, a manifestation of the thoughts that you constantly have running in your head. And I don't know if you know this, but we have roughly somewhere between 60 and 80,000 thoughts a day. 80% of them are repetitive and recurring thoughts. And they tend to be negative thoughts. And I don't want to like beat you up for that, but the reason why we have negative thoughts is it's a survival mechanism. Like your brain saying, I can't do that, don't do that. It's all there to just keep you alive. We still have this very primal brain. We're going to talk about that. But your brain doesn't care about your goals. It just cares about keeping you safe, keeping you small, making sure that you never feel rejection or humiliation or embarrassment. Like your brain's like, we cannot experience those things because it registers emotional pain and physical pain in the same area of the brain, where it's like, ooh, rejection, can't do that. Judgment, can't do that. Because who wants to voluntarily put their hand on a hot stove and inflict pain on themselves? No one does. So of course your brain's like, do we have to like make a post and show our face? Do we have to like go public? Can't we just hang out in a private profile forever? Do I have to like talk about my business? I don't know. Like we have all these stories. Do I need to send an email list? Do I have to have an email? Do I have to make video content? Do I have to go live? All of that is just your brain fighting to keep you in your safety zone. Because safety zone, it's what keeps you alive. Your brain's like, no, we don't have to do scary, hard things outside of this. So if your habits are always an outpouring of your inner beliefs, I just want to give you an example and break this down. I am a content creator, like having that identity, therefore I create content. Somebody who identifies as a content creator, their habits are going to match that. They're like, okay, I'm going to go make content today because I'm a content creator, right? I'm a procrastinator, therefore I procrastinate, right? If we constantly identify as that, being like, okay, then I'm going to go procrastinate. Or I'm a healthy person, therefore I prioritize my health. If you identify as a healthy person, you're like, well, what would a healthy person do? A healthy person is going to make these decisions versus these decisions. They're going to take these actions instead of these actions, right? So really, to boil it down, is your thoughts and beliefs are always fueling your behaviors and actions. We talked about this on day one, where we typically solve for the wrong thing. It's like with the iceberg analogy, above the waterline is your behavior and actions. It's like not showing up, not being consistent, scrolling on your phone, avoiding the work. That's all the action. But below the waterline of like, I'm not good enough, I'm afraid someone's going to judge me, I have nothing valuable to offer, that's the thoughts and beliefs. But we're too busy solving the behavior and trying to do behavior modification instead of actually getting to the root of the problem, which is actually your thoughts and beliefs. Okay? So in order for you to create new results, there's actions you have been doing that have led to your current results. And then there's the actions you need to be doing in order to create your new results. Okay, to break it down even more, your current actions are a product of your current way of thinking. And in order for you to have new actions, for you to have new behaviors, it means you need to have a new way of thinking. But oftentimes we try and change the behavior while carrying all of our garbage thoughts with us. Like, do you really expect somebody to go out when I say, all right, I want you to go create a piece of content that adds value to your audience by educating them, empowering them, or entertaining them about this specific area, or maybe a lesson you've learned in your life. I want you to go and write that. Do you think the person who has the inner narrative of like, I have nothing valuable to offer, I have no personality, I'm boring, I have no unique life experiences, do you think they're going to sit down and be able to write something of value to their audience? No, because they're sitting there believing the thought, right? Like you can't force new behaviors. And that's what I see so many people do is they leave trainings like this and they just go and try and like willpower the new behaviors without realizing that they have to address the beliefs first. They have to address the mindset. And guys get it. I get it. Like I know we are strategy junkies. We so badly want to believe like the strategy is the answer, and it's part of the answer, but you can't implement strategy with a garbage mindset. It's impossible to implement, right? So you cannot shift your behavior long term unless you shift your identity and your behavior and your beliefs first. Like anytime I see people go into behavior modification and trying to willpower their actions while still carrying garbage thoughts, it lasts about 2 weeks before the willpower drops and they revert back to their old habits and back to how they see themselves. You will always revert back to the habits that match your current identity or your current way of thinking. Always, always. Because behavior modification doesn't actually work long term. I've noticed this. I'm going to give you an example of this too. Sorry, my boot keeps clanking on my chair. But one thing that hey, you get to hear one of my unpopular opinions. I actually don't like 75 hard. I like the idea of it. I like what it's trying to teach you. I like the habits. I like all of those things that it's about. However, the reason why I don't like it is it's about 75 days versus a lifetime of habits. I have yet, and I could be wrong, I have yet to meet somebody who sustained that way of life beyond 75 hard. It was just like okay, this is just my 75-day commitment, and I'm gonna do all these things. And then I'm like, okay, then what happens on day 76? What happens on day 77? What happens on day 78, right? So it's just like, that's when I see a willpower of like, I'm just gonna muscle through the behaviors and hope they stick. Unless you make a shift on the identity level, you're gonna revert back to who you were on day one or pre-day one of 75 hard, right? Behavior modification simply doesn't work. How do we know? Even if if we take out the 75 hard analogy, how do we know behavior modification doesn't work long term? Is because you've already tried it. You've done it. You've gone to team trainings, you've gone to your convention, you've watched training videos, and you go out and you muscle through the actions, and then there you are, sliding back into your old habits. And you're sitting there being like, why do I keep doing this? Because you keep trying to fix and solve for the wrong thing. So I want to help you with that today, because this is with the idea of like, I'm just going to willpower it. That's people like, I'm just going to be more consistent. I'm going to go live more often. Again, intentions, right? The good intention cycle, like stop quitting. I'm going to not make excuses. I'm going to do a 30-day challenge, or I'm going to do a sprint. I'm going to just need to do it. But for some reason, the habits don't stick. Why? Because we didn't do the belief work to make the habits stick, right? So here's the thing. We have your income generating activities, like going live, sharing valuable content, connecting and engaging with people, talking about the business. And then we have this sad little stick figure that's thinking thoughts like, I'm boring. I have nothing valuable to offer. I'm not outgoing enough. I'm bad at these things. I feel unsure. People are going to make fun of me, whatever. And you guys, I saw a whole host of negative thinking or self-deprecating thoughts in all of the lives. Like, yeah, I suck at that. Oh, I'll never be good at this. This seems really hard for me. This seems this. I'm like, what? Because the thoughts is what's keeping you from the implementation. But here's what I'm going to say too. Your brain offers you 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And just because your brain thinks it doesn't make it true. Just because you think I have nothing valuable to offer doesn't mean it's fact and does not mean it's true. But a lot of you think it is. You're like, yeah, but I have no good life experiences. And then the conversation just stops there. Instead of asking yourself, well, what have I overcome recently in the last 3 years? Or if I were to write a letter to my past self and give her advice or give them advice, what would I say? There you go. You have something valuable to offer. But when you're too busy having self-deprecating thoughts and choosing to believe them, like, they must be true. Or the idea of like, nobody wants my product, no one's paying attention to my post, no one wants to work this business, no one's interested in this. Like, just because you think it doesn't mean it's true. However, we too often just take our thoughts as fact and being like, must be true. I think it, therefore it's so. But then we end up creating our reality. So I want to tell you about there's two parts of your brain. You have your front brain, which is your prefrontal cortex, and that's where you have your higher reasoning. That's where you actually are making, like, you're taking risks and you're doing the hard things. This is where all your growth is. Back here is your survival brain, your primal brain, your lizard brain, however you want to talk it. All it cares about is keeping you alive and keeping you exactly where you are because it's familiar, right? And that's the part of your brain that shouts, people are going to judge me, but I'm bugging people. But what if people say this about me? Or, what if I go for the goal and I miss it? Or this is why I'm never going to be good at these things, right? The whole reason your brain is offering that thought is to get you into a fight. This is where your fight, flight, and freeze behaviors happen, where it's like you go into total freeze mode because that part of your brain is like, uh-oh, freak out. We don't want to go in our growth zone because growth zone is absolute and most certainly death. And so it puts you in that fight, flight, freeze state, right? But when you learn to sit with a thought and realize, wait, is this actually true? Why is my brain offering this? What if it's not true? What you're doing, even learning to pause and challenge the thought, is what you're doing is you're getting yourself out of the back of your brain and you're getting back into the front of your brain where you have the higher reasoning, where you're actually able to access the thought. People actually need what I have to offer. This is useful. This is helpful. It's a disservice to keep this to myself, right? But we can't access those thoughts when we are listening to the back of our brain that's like, don't do it. We can't. Like, this is why it's like, okay, where does grit come from? Grit comes from the ability of learning to hear that thought, not believe it to be true, pause and challenge the thought and bring yourself into a calm place, get out of the fight flight and bring yourself back into the prefrontal cortex of your brain. This is also what we teach inside the Social Selling Academy. We teach how to actually switch that over. A lot of this is neuroscience. I teach neuroscience in sales and in marketing and with coaching. All of it is brain-based behavior. All of it. So I want to give you an example of how your thinking directly influences every single outcome in your business. Okay? So you have the task in front of you that you want to do. So maybe it's talking about the business model on your social media. And you're like, okay, I haven't done it in a while. I told myself I'd do it. Maybe I'll do my stories or I'll make a post. And you just feel yourself starting to break out into a sweat. Again, we're back brain's acting up. It's being like, uh-oh, fight, flight, freeze. We're about to enter into the growth zone and we don't like that, right? And so the thought that comes up is like, I don't know what to say. I'm going to look dumb. I can't do that, right? That might be, sometimes we're not even aware the thought is there. We're usually just aware of the behavior. And I'm going to unpack that more. So we have this thought, I don't know what to say, I'll look dumb, which creates an emotion, or sometimes we're more aware of the emotion, which might be anxious, insecure, feelings of total dread. Like you might be like, I feel sick to my stomach, or I feel anxious. And sometimes if we aren't aware of how we're feeling, we go into other behaviors where our behaviors are like, we go into avoiding the task. We might be scrolling on our phone. We might be watching Netflix. We might be folding laundry. We might be working on our grocery list instead. We might be doing all these things, not realizing that the behavior of scrolling on my phone is because I'm actually feeling the emotion of anxiety that I can't name right now, because how I'm coping is scrolling on my phone. And the anxiety is coming from, if I was to sit there and ask myself, why am I not willing to write a post on social media? And we answer that question, it's because I'm afraid I'm going to look dumb. But all we might be aware of in the moment is that we're scrolling on our phone, not doing the things we said we're going to do. And then we're sitting there being like, why can't I just show up for myself? We're asking the wrong questions. It's like, what story am I telling myself? What belief is stopping me from taking the action I know that could make me money and actually help me grow. Why? Right? So we end up, the behaviors are we avoid the task, we procrastinate, maybe we hide behind another activity. We don't talk about the business at all. What ends up happening is we don't talk about the business. It just doesn't happen, right? And so then the outcome that we create is we actually don't learn how to talk about the business. We don't grow the team, you just don't grow, right? So if your thought is like, I don't know what to say, then the outcome is like you never do know what to say because you're not willing to practice. And it continues to get worse, and the problem starts to compound. Is the thought created the outcome? But so often we're thinking the behaviors create the outcome. What I do creates the outcome. I'm like, yes, but what comes before the behaviors? And it's whatever belief is fueling the behavior at the time. Because at the end of the day, mindset is behind all of your action or inaction. If you're like, oh, I'm lacking, again, we're going to go back to the iceberg analogy. It must be because I'm lacking willpower. It must be because I'm lacking consistency. It must be because I don't have enough time, or I need to time block better, or I just need to sit down and get it done. We're not solving for the real issue at all. We're not solving for the story that has an absolute chokehold on your life, that's keeping you from living a bigger, more extraordinary, impactful life. It's the story keeping you small and keeping you stuck and stagnant, and you've been carrying it for a long time. You just don't know what it is. Or maybe you're very aware of the story, but you're just like, I don't know how to break through this story. I keep falling below my potential. Like some of you might be absolutely sick of living beneath your potential, and it's haunting you. Like you're like, I know I'm meant for more, but I keep getting in my own damn way. And I don't know how to stop that. Some of you can really relate to that. And some of you are just sick of it. You're like, I'm sick of this. Like, I'm sick of myself. How do I get through this? So many of you are like, I'm so excited to implement, but here's the thing. Your ability to consistently implement is directly related to your ability to manage the stories that your brain is constantly offering you. Implementation is directly related to your ability to manage the stories that are running in your head 24/7. Some of you might be like, oh, this doesn't sound fun. It's not. But it's magic. It's where all the magic is. And my students will tell you this. They'll be like, I had no idea the stories I was carrying. But once I understood the stories, the behavior unlocked. The sale, all the actions I've been wanting to do so badly for years, I was finally able to do them because I addressed all the stories that was keeping me in a place of inaction and paralysis and second guessing myself and never getting the thing where also, I'll say this too. If it's taking you 4 hours to get your work done, it's because you have so many stories causing the work to take longer. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know where to go. No one wants to hear from this. I don't think this post is good enough. Edit, delete, rewrite. Okay, I think this still sucks. Edit, delete. And then, you spend 2 hours trying to craft a perfect post because you're telling yourself this post has to make a sale, or this post, you put so much pressure on it instead of okay, I'm working on the habit. I'm working on becoming someone of consistency. I'm working on quantity first to build the muscle, and then I'm going to work on quality. I like to think of the behaviors in your business kind of like, for me, it was like getting started in weight training. I had no business lifting really heavy weights if I didn't understand the proper form. And which means I had to go really lightweight, and I had to do a lot of reps and figure out the form, figure out how to stabilize my core, figure out where my back went, my chin went, and where my eyes were looking, and all these things. And once I understood the form and I created muscle memory around the form, then I was able to actually add weight and go further. But some of you just want to go walk into the gym and squat 200 pounds and be like, yeah, on your first time. I'd be like, and you might be disappointed to learn, okay, actually the first thing we need to do is no weight. We're going to do body weight, and we're going to work on if your knees are aligning properly so that we don't injure yourself, so that you're out of the gym for a year or getting surgery or recovery or whatever it is. You actually have to build up to that point. But some of you are like, but it has to be perfect. I'm like, no. Let's just get the muscle memory in. Let's just get the proper form in. That's really, when you're building the foundational habits of your business that's going to sustain you forever, your first 90 days in this business is really about building the muscle memory of the business. So that you understand, I just make a post every day. I comment every day. I talk to people every day. I connect to people every day, building the muscle memory. Once that's in, then we work on the quality. Then we work on the quality with the quantity, and we get better with time, right? That is this, but consistent implementation can only happen if you're able to manage your stories. Is there a way to refresh the comments if they stopped? Sorry, I just like seeing what you guys have to say. Here's the thing about goals. Goals is always, they are always going to bring up your limiting beliefs and your stories that have been holding you back and keeping you small. Don't expect, like if you're setting a goal, expect stories to come up, expect old stories, old wounds. And listen, stories aren't there for no reason. Stories, often your brain has been like, okay, here's the story we believe. Now let's go find evidence so that we can support this story and so we know it's true. So not only are you carrying around stories, but you've been carrying around evidence that you've been collecting for that story for a very long time, which is why the story feels so dang true, which is why it feels so hard to get out of it. Stories like this. I don't have anything valuable to talk about. I don't know how to attract people. I don't know how to create content. I'm not good with tech. I don't have an outgoing personality. I don't want people to think I'm spammy. I'm bugging people. People don't want to hear what I have to say. I could never lead a team. Right? These are the stories. And people are like, okay, Kristen, but how when you have these stories, people are like, okay, can you just this is when I know people are wanting scripts. It's because they have stories. They're like, can you give me a script of what to say to people? I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. Because for me, when I really believe in something, I don't need a script. When my belief is so high, I don't need to be like, hey, I need a script for this. Like, no, I'm just speaking from the heart. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? But here's the thing. People are like, how do I have confident sales conversations? Can you hand me a script? I'm like, you want to know what the real secret is? It's not in a script. It's in your belief. It's working on what's up here. Because when up here is rock solid, everything that comes out of your mouth is also rock solid. You're like, listen, here's why, here's what's great. When people are like, well, how do I have confident sales conversations? I'm like, start having confidence in what you actually sell first. You can't have a confident sales conversation if you don't actually believe in what you're selling. If you have stories in the background being like, I don't know if this is work, I don't know if this is this, like all of those things. Like for me, I would just say, like, I understand that maybe scripts can inspire you, get you started, maybe be a guideline, but what can be a guideline can quickly become a crutch. And then what can become a crutch can quickly become what you feel is almost like you handicap yourself of like, now I don't know how to do this without a script. And now we lack confidence because we think, well, the only way I'm able to have this is because of a script, instead of like, wait, I'm learning to have conversations. And even though they're awkward, you guys, my conversations when I started in sales and marketing were all so terrible, like awkward. There was awkward pauses, there was awkward silences, but every single conversation made me better. I wouldn't, and I usually laugh because I'm like, and then what happens if the person goes off script? How will you handle that? My husband, just kind of on a funny note, my husband loves talking to the salespeople that, like the telemarketers that call us, because he loves throwing them off script. And there was one time when an internet company provider called and they're like, Mr. Boss, would you like to upgrade your package and you'll have this much more bandwidth and this much more Wi-Fi and it would save you, $200 a month. What do you say? And my husband said this. He's like, I don't want to save money. And he heard the person on the back and be like, like they were completely dumbfounded. He's like, yeah, no, he's like, here's the thing. I'm really happy with my service. You've never had to come out and repair it. I'd actually rather spend more money on a reliable service than you change things and save money. And the person did not know what to do. Like the conversation was awkward and my husband loved it. So this is why I'm like, when we rely too much on scripts and handouts because we're not willing to work on our confidence and our belief, we turn into robots and then we wonder why we feel spammy and gross, and why we feel inauthentic is because we haven't done the inner work to really grow our belief. You want to know when selling feels truly authentic is when you actually believe it. When you're like, dude, everybody needs this. Like some of you guys you're like, oh my gosh, Kristen, your energy in these events. I'm like, because I'm speaking from my heart, because I'm speaking, like you can feel my belief when I'm talking to you. Like people can feel your level of belief. They can feel your conviction, right? You can't have confident sales conversations while your brain is also screaming, you're being salesy and gross, right? Another thing with your thoughts, you are going to struggle to come back from a setback when you're thinking, see, no one wants this, I can't do this, it's easier for everybody else. If you guys are like, what is the secret to having grit? It's right here. It's right here. It's all up here, right? High levels of belief automatically create confident conversations. It creates confident content. So if people are like, I haven't posted or talked about anything, I'll be like, well, let's evaluate your belief. There's something in the academy that we teach called the belief triad, where we have you evaluate 3 areas of belief in your business. And we're like, usually if you're not acting out or doing the necessary work, it's because you lack belief in one of these 3 areas. And then you need to work on those 3 things. And I'll tell them to you. Belief in what you have to offer. Do you believe do you believe in how life-changing it is? Do you believe it's a true service to people? Believing in yourself and your ability to help others. And then lastly, it's your belief in others, believing that they want it, believing that it's desirable. Having belief in others, or I'm even going to say belief in the business model. There's like belief in what you offer, which is the business model and the product, belief in yourself, and then your belief in others, that they want it. Those are the 3 areas of belief. And usually the belief breaks down in one of those categories every single time. Where I'm usually telling them, all right, let's visit one of these 3 beliefs. Where are you holding back? What do we got to work on? Where do we need to focus on our belief right now? Right? And like I said earlier, you don't need a script when you truly believe in what you are sharing. Okay? As if I'm not saying this enough, is 90% of your success is all about mindset. But this is how people think shifting beliefs works. This is what I think they see in their head. There's like new thoughts, it's like a switch. Like, oh, I have this thought, and I have this thought, like I have nothing of value to offer, and I'll just start telling myself, I have valuable things to offer. And they expect to flip the switch and for that thought to suddenly be true for them. And they're surprised when they're like, wait, why do I still have this thought? Why do I still not take the action? Here's how it actually works. What it is more like a scale. And what it is, you have your old thoughts that you've been thinking a long time. Not only that, but you've compiled a bunch of evidence to support that old thought. And then you have your new thoughts that slowly, it takes time for you to actually build new thoughts and create new evidence that might actually be true. Right? And so eventually you have your old thoughts that were its weight, but you have to consistently believe this new thought over and over and over and over and over again and over again. And you're gonna be like, why do I still believe this thought? Because it's been ingrained for so long. And also this is like, to give you another example, this is neural pathways in your brain. Like the neural pathways have been traveling down this way for so long that you actually have to create a new neural pathway. And I like to think of it as like diverting a river. It takes a lot of time, consistent, and effort and energy to divert a stream of river, right? To divert water, as I can talk. All right, so we have this, and then eventually they kind of are equal. And then finally, with time, you start to have all this evidence and belief in these new thoughts. And then suddenly, this now is your new identity. This is your new identity now, and you formed new beliefs. Right? So this is why it's so hard to think. It's just, I'm going to go back to this. This is a form of toxic positivity, thinking like I can just change my thoughts. I can just walk out and be like, I'm someone of value, or I have something valuable to offer. It's like, no, you're going to have to actually work hard to create evidence and be like, okay, this is what I need to believe, and this is how I need to do this. And eventually, with time and consistent effort, you can change your thoughts. Here's the good news. Even if you're like, Kristen, I have 50 years of garbage thinking under my belt. Is there hope for me? I would say, yep, absolutely. Look up 2 words, neuroelasticity. Look that up. Like your brain can change. Isn't that amazing? And if your brain can change, so can your life. If your thoughts can change, so can your outcomes. And if your thoughts can change, so can your behaviors. This is such good news. Meaning like, wait, I don't have to stay stuck like this. Yep. Isn't that amazing? I know, because it's evidence for me. Like I've seen that in my life. Okay. If you want to change your outcomes, you have to change your behaviors. In order to change your behaviors, you have to change your thoughts. How many of you are like, okay, this is landing, I'm getting it, I see it, I understand? Because if you don't, 2024 is going to look exactly like 2023 unless you show up differently, because there's nothing magical about January 1st. When it comes to growth, our decision to grow we usually make the decision to change when it becomes too painful for us to remain where we are. Some of you haven't actually made painful changes because you've set up camp in your current level of discomfort. You're like, yeah, I'm uncomfortable, but I'm used to it. I'm familiar with it. I'm used to living with this level of discomfort. We become, because it's familiar. But we don't like the idea of the pain of the unfamiliar, so we stay with the pain we know. And I would just have to decide, like, this is why in the workbook I ask, okay, if you're here in 6 months, how would you feel about that? If you're same paycheck, same place, same level of frustration, even if your paycheck is the same, but or maybe your paycheck is growing, but your experience of the business is miserable, do you want that? Is it sustainable, right? You have to decide, is it painful enough for me right where I am to actually change? And for some of you, it might not be. Some of you are like, take it or leave it, and be like, okay, then you're not going to create lasting change. And that's okay. Eventually, you're going to have to get to the place where it's like, it will become painful. Right? And I will say this is true for people that you're recruiting into this business. When you're talking to them, there may not be enough pain in their current life to actually make them choose the pain of getting over their fear of other people's opinions of selling a product online. So they're like, nah, I'd rather stay with this pain than that pain, right? There's the pain of staying where you are, and then there's the pain of making changes. You choose. A lot of people say this, choose your heart. I say choose your pain. Both are painful, but we're used to this pain. It's a little ouchy. If you truly wanted to, you would. If you truly wanted to, you would. Because if you wanted to, you would have an insatiable hunger and desire for creating a future you can't yet see. You get knocked down, you get back up again. Right? You get knocked down, you're like, that's fine, we're going to keep going. You have to have that insatiable hunger where no one can talk you out of it. I had so many people being like, are you crazy? No one wants that, Kristen. What are you doing? Like, I had so many obstacles coming at me in my life, and I'm going to share more about this in the Q&A tomorrow. When I decided to make change, my life didn't get easier. It actually got harder. And then it got better. But it was hard. How many of you are like, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready to do the hard things. Here's the thing is roughly 90% of people are going to say like, yes, I'm going to do the hard things. But then when it push comes to shove, they're going to be like, not that hard though. Can we like maybe tiptoe in this? Maybe not too much, right? So here's for your next 90 days of 2024, here's what you got to do. You got to decide your first goal. You're going to do that on that sheet of paper. Write it down. Specificity matters. Like how many new customers, how many new team members, what you want your paycheck to say, right? Doing the daily belief work. Now that you have that scale image in your head, I feel like that's going to give you a realistic expectation of what mindset actually work is so that you can be a lot more compassionate with yourself instead of being like, why do I still think these thoughts? What's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. You're a human. You're a human and you're doing the hard work of building new neural pathways so that you can create a new life. We have to be compassionate with ourselves instead of jerks. Sometimes we're just absolute jerks to ourselves, right? You want to execute the plan, evaluate, and keep going. That's really what it is. Yeah. I want you to choose your goal. So you have your goal for the year of 2024, then you're going to choose your first goal of the first 90 days of 2024. And be clear. Write it down. And I want you to share it with somebody because remember, accountability actually helps your success levels, your likelihood of success. Right? But this one's key. You have to make it non-negotiable. You have to actually write this down. And I want you to say, how am I making this non-negotiable? Where quitting is simply not an option. If this were life or death, what would I do? If this wasn't about flexibility or negotiability and I made this non-negotiable, how would I show up differently? You know this, guys. I'm going to give you a couple steps here. You have to implement consistently for a sustained period of time. We talked about this on the day one, process oriented. Instead of outcome driven, I think in our poll, in our survey, most of you said the biggest thing you learned was making mistakes with your goals is being outcome driven instead of process driven, right? Deciding a goal that's within your growth zone, right? Deciding, okay, what stretches me 20%? Instead of like, don't go pure into the paralysis zone, right? Don't go all the way there. Just be like, okay, what's beyond my level of comfort to where I am right now? What would that look like for me? And it's different for each person. I'm going to say this too. Your growth zone, as you get confident in working in that growth zone, your growth zone becomes your new comfort zone. And then you have a new level of growth. And then you will grow that. And so what you end up doing is you end up growing your capacity for hard and challenging things, expanding by 20% each time you choose to stick with it, right? The things that used to be my growth zone is now very much my comfort zone. Like, I want you to think this event, like, I remember the first time I went live to 250 people, I was like sweating. And now, like, I would say talking live to 5,000, 6,000 people, that's in my comfort zone. Talking to 20,000 people would definitely be in my growth zone, right? And so it expands with you. Embrace being a content creator, deciding I'm going to consistently create content and it matters. Going back to our endless pipeline formula of attract, nurture, sell, repeat. We talked about that with email marketing. We talked about it with your content, right? This is where you have to stay constantly. I just want you to constantly be like, okay, what is this post doing? Is this post attracting? Is this nurturing? Is this selling? Is this repeating? And by the way, if you posted the unpopular opinion yesterday, that was attracting. A lot of people were commenting like, oh, I'm getting comments from people that have never commented on me before. Like, hey, new eyeballs, attracting. Right? 5, last but definitely not least, you have to manage your mind. Okay? So you're hungry, you're chomping at the bit. I can see it, I can feel it. I see all of your comments. You're like, we're ready, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Okay, what now? Okay, I'm gonna talk to you about the special things we have coming. Okay. So what now? Remember the statistics, you have 68% more successful with accountability, but you better make sure that you have accountability that's in it as much as you are. I can't tell you how many times I've had gym buddies where we're like, okay, hold me accountable so we can go to the gym. And we both end up calling being like, I'm tired. They're like, me too. Do you just want to like put on sweatpants and come over and talk about the latest book? Yep. Let's just do that. Like, be careful who you choose to be accountable to. And I will say the first person you need to be accountable to is yourself. Remember how I said you got to have skin in the game? Let's talk about skin in the game. I've seen a lot of your questions where you're like, how do I show up successfully on Instagram? How do I attract strangers to my account? How do I even begin to create content? Like, I've just been making posts. Now, how do I create content that actually attracts new people to me? How do I find where my people are? How do I even start an email list? How can I do better in the online space? How can I do this without wasting hours a day, spinning my wheels, and still have a life? Many of you are like, how can I still have a life while I do this? Oh, man. Watch the testimonies from my students as we're sharing it in the group, because they are all telling you they get their work done under 90 minutes a day, most of them in 60 minutes, and they feel like they have their whole life. They're like, I have my whole life back. It's amazing, right? Just to give you some evidence of that, because I'm like, hey, I don't like just talk. I want evidence for what somebody's saying. It's like, so Jennifer used the 90-day challenge, got more consistent, $2,000 in sales she hit her goal. Someone else signed up 4 new people in November, hit her first promotion level, got bonus money. Kristen had her highest sales month to date, enrolled 5 new customers, ranked up for her customer sales. And that's even while dealing with a sinus infection for almost 2 weeks. Let's see here. Next one, Jen added a total of 5 new VIPs, total of 6 for her team, grew by 49 points, highest points since August 22. Jalen organically re-ranked and maintained. Amy, let's see, she hit her goal for her first Goal Getter Challenge, best month in sales ever. Sarah had 3 new team members join her team, a full December calendar. Learning to roll with the punches was just taking some mindset, because I lean towards perfectionism. So for me, that's amazing. Emily, she did her first Goal Getter Challenge. Her social media following increased. She feels more confident on what to post. Increased her bookings and parties. New contacts left and right. Personal volume has increased. Team member working with her business with another girl beneath her. Hit her bonus. Hit another bonus. She's thankful. Kira re-ranked highest OGV in over a year. Shelby beat her personal sales in every month since July and keeps going, and earned her company's trip. This is the growth I'm talking about. I want to invite you into the Social Selling Academy. It is my lifetime program for social sellers who are like, I'm ready to grow. This is not a stagnant decision. This is not a, I have an expensive hobby decision. This is like, and maybe you have, maybe you're like, okay, this is how I've been working my business. But like, I've had this serious wake up call. You saw the investment vehicle and you're like, oh, dang, I have a completely different desire for this business now, and I really want to take it places so I can invest in other things. So I want to share with you a little bit about this because some of you have been following me for a while, and maybe your level of pain hasn't gotten to the place where you're like, all right, it's too painful for me to delay this another day, and it's time for me to get over my dang self and just freaking invest. And some of you are brand new to me, and you might be like, well, what is this? Tell me about it. I'm going to tell you a little about it, and I have another special announcement after that you're going to want to hang with. But listen, we have a really special bonus, and we have something inside the Academy called the Goal Getter Challenge, and this is the game changer for everybody. We have a brand new journal, and it is like the social sellers in the Academy, they're like, it is their lifeblood, and we just reformulated a new one, so my students are probably freaking out seeing this. But inside this, you have your content prompt for the day. If you're like, I don't know what to talk about, we give you a content prompt. You have an affirmation for the day. There is an income producing activity checklist for you to actually go through. Even at the beginning of the book, I give you tips on exactly what to do with every income producing activity, where to do it, how to do it. There's a list for you to track who you talk to, potential customers, follow-up lists. I also have a list of, and our students love this one too. We have a result producing checklist where it's like, hey, if they're like, I don't know why I'm not seeing results, we say, go look at the result producing checklist and ask yourself, have I done these things? What things have I missed? It's like a checklist of this is how you grow your paycheck. And the more checks you do, like the more things you check off, the more your paycheck grows. And it goes through all of 90 days. We have a belief work section in the back. So with our special kind of formulated mindset training so that you actually know how to do that. So you get this printed free when you join. We also have for my goal getters, we also are giving away this goal getter sweatshirt when you join. You get this, you get the sweatshirt and the journal mailed to you when you join the Academy before the end of this event when our lives come down. So if you're like, okay, wait, what else? So what all am I going to learn? And I'm going to tell you what you're going to learn. And listen, tomorrow I'm going to address all of your Q&A. We're going to go more in depth with this. But this is for somebody that's like, dude, I'm ready. Just tell me where to go. I'm sick of staying here. I need and I'm going to tell you this. The Social Selling Academy is an investment vehicle. You use this to educate yourself to get the skills so that you can increase your income, so that you can leverage that income into other things. If you're like, okay, I want to get into short-term rentals or I want to get into real estate, we'd have to pay to be a licensed real estate professional. So it's like, okay, so you're going to pay to be a professional network marketer that has access to all the skills so that you can grow your paycheck and grow your income, right? So the things we teach mindset, email marketing, niche training, organic marketing. We also have 2 books with that you can also print on demand from our store. I teach you exactly how to write. We have a confident copy where you actually learn how to write content that actually compels people to buy from you so that you have people reach out to you and say, I'm ready. I just want to buy it. They're going into your DMs and saying, hey, can you tell me more? Hey, I'm ready. Like some of you are like, I have never in my life had a stranger just randomly purchase from me. It happens for my students that apply this. Okay. We also have in there a library of over 300 live coaching calls with me that you can just use the search bar and literally type in anything and we'll pull up to the minute, to the second of me coaching a social seller on that exact issue. So you can say, oh, this is exactly what I needed to learn. We have a private member podcast of all those coaching calls to access to listen to on the go. I teach you copywriting, sales mastery, Instagram training, Facebook training, Reels training. You learn content creation, how to do Reels, how to land customers, email marketing, finding your niche, Instagram training, marketing. We have a 24/7 coaching support box. We have certified coaches in an inbox. So if you were to mail in a question, submit a question, they are there to help support you. Yes, the PDFs of the organic marketing are all the books are included, but this is the one you get printed and mailed to you when you joined. Guys, this is a lifetime access you pay once. There is no other program like this. My students that have been in it for a number of years, they're seeing such compounded return. They're like, I can't believe I got to invest once and they're still using the materials. They're still doing it. And they're like, I love that I can always come back to this. I love that it's there waiting for me. I update it. I'm going to say this. So the amount of content we have in there, and I have barely even scratched the surface with you guys, it's valued over $5,000. Like, we could charge that, but I'm like, yeah, but we're talking about social sellers who like, I feel like a lot of people their brains would melt and that's not accessible. So I'm like, all right, so listen, the regular purchase price, if you were to purchase this outside of this event, is $3,000, which is still a deal. Like, you're going to get in there and your mind's going to be blown with all the things that we have created for you to guarantee your success. Okay. But the regular purchase price is $3,000, but for this weekend during this event alone, it's $19.97. You get access to the lifetime access to the Academy, which means no rejoin fees, no renewal fees, no re-ups, none of that. You get this, you get the Goal Getter sweatshirt. I love it. Someone's like, I love this. Someone said, Brandy said, it's been almost 3 years and I still log in regularly and use the resources. I can't tell you how often people are like, I'm just so thankful that you made this lifetime, because some people are like, I had babies. Why? Because life happens and I get it. And I work so hard to help you work through life. But sometimes maybe it wasn't the right time, but there's no guilt. You get to come back and be like, great, here it is. I just get to access it. It's forever available to you for the life of your career. You join once and you get the benefits for your career. I'm going to say this too. I teach you transferable skills. So even if anything were to happen to this industry, or if you somehow decided maybe network marketing wasn't for you in a couple years, you would still be accessing the materials if you want to sell anything online for the rest of your life. If you're a hairstylist, a real estate person, I have people joining the Academy. I don't even know how they get in there, but they're like, I just want to learn how to make content from you, and it works for them. We also had somebody who started an Etsy shop, and she's like, I had the biggest month in sales when I utilizing the Goal Getter Challenge for my Etsy shop. So like, it works. It's transferable skills you get to take with you for life. I will tell you, if all of these sections were sold separately in other courses, like email marketing, a course just on email marketing is typically $500 to $700. So it's like, a lot of our students say, this is the one-stop shop. I don't have to go anywhere anymore. It's all there for you. And I will tell you, I'm constantly rewatching my own trainings and asking, like, is this still relevant? Does it need tweaking? How do I need to change this? This is why we updated the Goal Getter Challenge into an action-taking journal. We're constantly evaluating and making the program better. I will tell you, my students are like, Kristen's always making it better. Not only that, but we also have ways for you to earn money inside of the Social Selling Academy while you're also growing your paycheck. We have an affiliate program. We have a content creator program. In fact, we just had 3 students each win $1,000 for making content, simply talking about the program that they loved. And so it's like, we actually create earning opportunities for you and reward you for being students. There's so many ways for you to make your money back inside and quickly. So you want to go to the socialsellingacademy.com right now so that you can grab, mostly, so I'm like, so we can get this to you, because we're going to start the Goal Getter Challenge. We're also doing a live coach-a-thon where I'm going live coaching every single day the first week of the new year, so that we can really ramp you up. Again, you can get this sweatshirt mailed to you with that workbook. My Academy students, they just found out last night that this is now available in the Social Selling Academy shop, that all of my students can get this bundle available to you in the SSA. So friends, listen, tomorrow, I know you have questions because it's a big investment, and maybe you are like freaking out, you're sweating, I don't know. Listen, I know it's a big investment. I know you have questions. I know you're thinking like, will it work for me? How quickly can I expect results? What if I don't have the money? I'm going to say this right now. Of course you don't have the money, because otherwise you wouldn't have signed up for this event. Like, if you had all the skills to make the money, you wouldn't need this event. Right? And so I also am going to encourage you. I just saw in Forbes magazine that the average household has over $3,000 of items that's sitting around that they can sell in Facebook Marketplace. We actually just recently did this. We sold a bunch of stuff that we randomly bought during COVID. And my husband just like sold stuff on Facebook and made $3,000 in cash. Like, if you wanted it, you would do it. You would get resourceful. We do have a payment plan. You will see it on the page as well. But here's the thing. I just want to challenge you, like, now is the time. Like, you're not going to feel better. And our students will say, like, I felt like I wanted to puke the whole time. And then when I clicked enroll, I felt this sense of relief and I knew I made the right decision. And oftentimes they're like, as soon as I saw the onboarding video and the welcome video, I immediately know I made the right decision. Right? And so here's the thing. If you decide to join today, right now, take a screenshot and celebrate. Do a hashtag Goal Getter. We want to celebrate you choosing growth in 2024. We want to go crazy. We want to party hard with you. So share it in the group. We're excited for you. If not, watch the Q&A tomorrow at noon Central Time. I'm going to be answering your questions, and afterwards we're going to be sharing with you. You're going to see a group panel of me interviewing some of our students recently who just went through the Goal Getter Challenge. And what's really fun is some of them have been in the academy using the materials for a couple years, and their results will absolutely blow your mind. Last announcement for my friends that are like, but okay, I want the, Kristen, you wore this cute hat the other day. Like, listen, merch just landed. Hold on here. Merch just landed, friends. So we've got some real cute stuff. You want to go to kristenboss.com/merch. And that's where we've got like the Boss Vibes hat. We've got a mug that says, my butt is not calm. We have a mug that says, my butt is calm. We've got this cute cropped sweatshirt that I was wearing earlier that's like, work for it. So have fun. Go over into the merch. We got a lot of fun stuff. We have one sweatshirt. Hold on. This one's my favorite. Hold on. As I'm like getting a box here. Sorry if this is loud. Hold on here. This one's my favorite. All right. I should have worn this. Okay. It's if you all are Swiftie fans, this one is a really beautiful font. And it says, in my goal getter era. So if you're in your goal getter era, this one is in the shop as well. It's so fun. I just thought it'd be really great. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to get this up live for everybody before the event, but my team has been working hard. They're like, we got it live. I was like, great, let's reward the people so that they can be excited for the new year. Okay, so friends, come with me to the live Q&A tomorrow at noon Central Time. I cannot thank you enough for giving me your time for these 3 days. Please take that growth gauge thing, fill out your goal, make a decision, talk to your accountability partner, I want you to really commit and decide, I refuse to stay here because the life that's ahead of me is too big for me to quit on. Okay, friends? So I want to thank you so much for your participation, for you sharing, for you talking about this event, for getting your team here. And I really believe, friends, that we're about to elevate the whole industry on a new level because we're talking about it differently. The investment vehicle, being content creators, being people who serve, being people who add value, like it's going to be a remarkable year. And I believe that we got the most amazing people at this event. The fact that so many of you came live, you committed, I'm so stinking proud of you. And of course, there's other ways for you to get more resources from me. There's my podcast that's free. We have a lot of resources out there available for you, but I just want to say you are worth the investment. And I know it's hard and I've been there. You can hear a little bit about my story tomorrow. So join me for the live Q&A. Again, thank you so much, my friends. It's been a real honor. Let's grow. We'll see you next time.